Okay, so this is a public information meeting for a land use bylaw text amendment. This land use bylaw text amendment comes as a result of an application from LUB Sawmills to add a permitted use to the list of permitted uses in the agricultural or A1 zone. So this is our agenda tonight. Councillor Allen did a wonderful introduction. I am Laura Mosier. I'm the planner on the file and the manager for the Planning and Development Services Department for the municipality of the County of Kings. We typically provide an opportunity for the applicant to make a presentation, but he has indicated that he will be available to answer questions. However, he did not have a formal presentation prepared. Following my presentation, we will take questions and comments. And Councillor Allen will provide the conclusion and adjournment when the time comes. So the purpose of this meeting is to inform the public of the application, as well as to explain our planning policies that enable the application and to receive preliminary feedback. It's important to note that no opinions have been formed on this application at this time, and no decisions will be made this evening. So the application is prompted by the subject property at 1004 Gasper River Road in Melanson. This property is made up of 3 separate PIDs, PID 55219166, 55219158, 55235915, and it is in Melanson as shown in the red circle on the map in front of you. Sorry, my presentation's freezing on me. This is an aerial photo of the subject properties. They are outlined in red. You can see that the use does take up most of the property. We've got some storage here in the east end. Most of the activity occurs in this middle PID, and then there's some more storage, and another building is proposed to be built on the westerly PID. These are some photos of the subject property. As you can see, there is lumber stacked throughout the site. This is sort of one of the main sawmill buildings, and there are several other buildings on site that contribute to the operation. This is a copy of the zoning map for the area. So most of the site is located in the agricultural or the A1 zone, shown in yellow on the map. So the sawmill use is considered a forest industry use under the land use bylaw. That is not currently a permitted use in the agricultural zone. The sawmill, SG Levy, has been operating for roughly 80 years, and so predates all of our planning rules in the municipality, and as a result of it not being listed as permitted use, it has a non-conforming status, which places restrictions on expansions and the continued operation should any one of those buildings burn or blow down or otherwise be damaged. So given the nature of the use, it is contemplated by the municipality to consider adding existing forest industry uses to the list of permitted uses, which would enable this operation and any other similar operations in the agricultural zone to continue operations without fear of restrictions on expansion or replacement of buildings. The subject properties are within the agricultural future land use designation. This indicates that the intended use of the properties moving forward is agriculture. However, given the current operation on the property and its history, the municipality has decided to contemplate legalizing the use within the agricultural zone. So as I mentioned, the operation is looking to construct a new building which would be used to store wood chips. As I mentioned before, the use is not a listed permitted use in the agricultural zone, and the use was made non-conforming as a result of the adoption of the new planning documents in 2019, but actually its non-conforming status actually extends much further back than even 2019. So typically, when we review the policies of the municipal planning strategy at this point, it's for a specific application on a specific property. Where this is a text amendment to the land use bylaw, this would be enabled across the entire agricultural zone. It would legalize any current forest industry use in the agricultural zone. That may sound very broad, however, we are not aware of a huge number of forest industry uses. This may be the only large scale one. There may be other smaller independent ones. People, breaking down firewood or things along small portable sawmills, but in terms of large scale operations, this is the only one that staff are aware of. So it would not necessarily result in widespread impacts across the municipality. But typically when we're looking at a rezoning or development agreement, we have specific policies that cater to that use. But where this is a text amendment, we have to look a little bit more into our goals and objectives to see if this action would be consistent with our current policy direction in the municipal planning strategy. So these are going to be fairly vague policies. They're not going to speak directly to the use or the property, but it's just to gain an understanding of whether this will be consistent with our current land use planning policy framework. So within our agricultural objectives, so the subject properties are located in the agricultural designation. Under our objectives, we have several themes, including settlement and rural and natural areas. So within our settlement theme, we're meant to limit and manage non-farm development that could otherwise be located in growth centers. So this is not a farm operation, although farmers do clear land and do process the lumber that comes off that land. So it is appropriate that this is located in proximity to agricultural operations, but it's also not really a use we want to see in growth centers. Sawmills are loud, they are dusty, they have vibration, they've got great big trucks coming in and out all day. So that's not necessarily a use we want to see in our growth centers, so we definitely want to see it in our rural areas. We also want to maintain the rural character of the landscape, and as I mentioned, this operation has been in existence for a very long time and does contribute to the character of the landscape as a result. Within our rural objectives, under economic development, we're meant to foster industry that increases the viability of and supports rural businesses. So that would include this forest industry use, but also farmers who, again, are clearing fields and need to process that lumber in proximity to where they're working. And we also have a policy that states that council shall identify areas located outside of growth centers as rural areas on Schedule A. These areas are intended to contain primarily agricultural and resource uses and their related industries, rural commercial uses, rural industrial uses, recreational uses, and limited residential development. So this would constitute a resource use and a related industry. So it is appropriate within a rural area. Within our economic development objectives, we're meant to cultivate a resilient economy supporting business development while maintaining environmental awareness. So this would be a business we would be looking to support. And when we look at agricultural uses versus forestry industry uses, we're typically concerned with impacts in the planning field, so impacts on neighboring properties, impacts on broader areas. So when we think about the impacts associated with agricultural uses versus forestry uses, we know that both agriculture and forest industry uses can be noisy. They can have dust, they can have vibration, there can be large vehicles. These are not necessarily things you want to see rolling through your residential subdivision in a growth center. So rural area can be considered appropriate for this type of use. And in terms of the overall impact across the municipality, as I mentioned before, this would only make existing operations permanent. So the listed use that we would be looking to add to the list of permitted uses would be existing forest industry uses, as opposed to just forest industry uses, which would enable the establishment of new. In terms of our process, we have received a complete application. We are here tonight at our public information meeting. Staff will conduct a review of our policies and consult with other departments and agencies before making a recommendation to the Planning Advisory Committee. The Planning Advisory Committee will review the staff report and make a recommendation to Council, at which time Council will give the application first reading if they are looking to move forward, and authorize a public hearing. Following the public hearing, Council will make their decision at second reading, at which point a 14-day appeal period will follow. And at this time, I am ready to take questions and comments.
Just before we take any questions,